fact about themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Carolyn, you want to start?
I start. Okay, I'm Carolyn Lewenberg, and my interesting fact is that I'm really obsessed with hummingbirds right now, but a lot of you probably already know that. Yeah.
My name is Amanda, and an interesting fact about me, this is kind of well known, is I love cats, and there's one of my little cats right there on the chair, sleeping away. Okay, Mimi?
I'm Mimi Graney. I'm trying to coordinate this activity. And my interesting fact is, let's see, I love to dance. I love swing dancing, and I used to be a competitive Irish step dancer years ago.
That's so cool. Okay, I'm just gonna go call out people's names in order on my screen. Rixie?
Hi, my name is Rixie, y'all. Interesting fact, I'm double jointed, and I'm thinking about that because I need a stretch after this. Been busy all day, and I'm like just trying to stretch.
Eduardo?
My name is Eduardo Chacon, and interesting fact, I've been learning Mandarin for about 7-8 months now, and I'm very obsessed with it, so it's pretty exciting.
Cool.
Julia?
I'm Julia, and interesting fact about me, I love to dance. I love the ocean.
Yeah. Sounds good. Max?
I'm Max. I'm an artist. I guess interesting fact is I built my own kayak when I was 14 and paddled down the Hudson River for 5 days. That's pretty cool.
And Anna?
Hi everyone, I'm Anna. My interesting fact is that I'm a vegetarian except for bacon. I haven't been able to get it out of my life yet. I'm working on it, but it hasn't happened yet.
That's awesome. Probably one of the funnier things that I've heard. So we're gonna get started. I am gonna share my screen with you because we have a little PowerPoint thing going on here. And okay, so we're mainly talking about some of the sites and logistics of the call.
Yeah.
So,
and I do want to just preface by saying I think everybody on this call is like more established artists, has done this type of work before, with the exception of Anna's sort of conveying this to youth that she works with, but just want to sort of preface our role as administrators of this project's a little different than other public art projects where we're sort of like gatekeeping and saying, okay, you can do a project because your proposal is really good. We're really supporting artists in developing their proposals who need it. So really trying to cultivate, especially for the wheat paste project, and new skills for emerging artists. So yeah, our role just really as more like support, like people can talk about their ideas with us instead of, having it be like, oh, if you have a question, like refer to our FAQs or send us an email and we'll like answer it in the FAQs. Like a lot of, you all know that a lot of processes are like that, but that's not really how we're doing it. We're really just talking to everybody about their ideas and supporting people in developing ones that are going to be good for this project. So just wanted to sort of open with that role of sort of creating fertile ground for new artists to come up in Chelsea. Yeah.
And so we've run through this a couple times in some of our past presentations, but just to give you an idea of what we're trying to do, there's we have these guiding values here on some of our project goals. But what it really boils down to is this idea of building community within Chelsea and making sure that individuals and residents in Chelsea are reflected in what's happening downtown. whether that's through art projects, chalk art projects, murals, wheat paste, the list goes on. And as I'm sure you guys all know, since many of you are artists, we're working off of this sort of idea that the arts and culture are an essential element of what makes places and communities of people healthy, connected, and vibrant.
Sorry, Amanda, I'm not sure if other people are able to see your slides. Right now, I'm just seeing a black screen. I don't know.
Ew. Stop. Sharing is pause. Bring your shared window to the front. Sorry, technical difficulties. What do you see now? Nothing?
I just see all of us.
Okay. What about now?
Now I see your agenda.
Hey, there it is.
Okay, sorry about that. Okay, so here is what we are going, a little bit of what we're going to be doing today. Again, mainly we're going over some potential sites and also running through the call. So we are awaiting confirmation on a variety of different sites, but they're essentially clustered along Division Street and Cherry Street. You can see here the blue dots represent various locations on Division, and the purple dots various locations on Cherry Street. And I'll just quickly show you guys some examples of the walls that we're looking at and that we're in the process of obtaining permissions for.
Yeah, and can you go back real quick to the map? So I don't know, it's small, so I don't know if y'all can see it, but so the purplish burgundy dots are for the wheat paste. So the wheat paste are all going to be on one street, and the painted murals will all be on one street. And there's one block of Cherry Street that already has murals on it. So we're basically like continuing down Cherry Street with those murals.
Yes, I believe there's there's one site along Cherry Street, which I can point out that we're anticipating will be a mural site just because it's so large, if we get the right permissions. But I'll just scroll through some of these walls. Can you guys see everything that's up on the screen?
Yep.
So these are pretty iconic just because they're around Luther Place. There's a wall.
Like that's the one behind the post office.
Mm-hmm.
Are these all the painted or the wheat paste sites?
These are Cherry Street, so these are wheat paste sites. This is still Cherry Street. This is also still Cherry Street. This is along Cherry Street, but this is what we would potentially be doing for a larger mural site. There's a couple of walls on this building.
So these three pictures are on the same wall because it's so long. We had to take like 3 different pictures to capture it.
Yeah, so it wraps as an L. This is
for folks that know the neighborhood, that's the side of Rincon on 2nd Street, just outside it, on the side of Chelsea Square.
Mm-hmm.
And then these are smaller, and this is starting to hit onto Division, which are the painted.
Wheat paste.
And again, so the wheat paste and both the painted murals, they're not going to go above 1 story. And this is mentioned in the call, but something I like to repeat just as you think down the line.
Does the call address why that is?
Mimi?
It's really a question about insurance and expense. So we're trying to make this particularly accessible to artists that are just starting out. So we don't want to make anything so big that they get really overwhelmed. We didn't want to have to deal with the expense of lifts.
Right.
We might have stuff that people do on a ladder would be okay, but we're trying to make as low a threshold as possible to not deal with a lot of insurance and people getting hurt. And we can get more ambitious on other locations. We're sort of kind of doing baby steps along the way.
And if there was other locations that we you know, we could recommend, maybe not for us, but maybe for another artist that probably is more skilled or has more experience. Is that something that the city would be open to, or maybe for next year, like just to recommend other locations?
Yeah, I actually have a Google map that we're developing. So there's been a couple kind of walks around the neighborhood before the pandemic hit to look at specific locations. And so, like, for example, this past spring, the city, through some funding that they got from the Mass Gaming Commission. So there's going to be 2 major murals done, one on the side of, on 5th and Broadway on the side of the McDonald's. And then that David Fichter is going to be doing. So we're developing a steering committee that's going to help inform the design of that. And then the side of the Century 21 building opposite City Hall here on Broadway, Sylvia Chavez Lopez is doing a major mural on that one. So I know there's a bunch of other locations people have got their eyes on. So we're kind of adding them to the list and hoping it inspires the property owners and artists to apply and work their magic.
And what I've seen a lot in other cities, and other projects that I've worked on is, and Eduardo, I think you mentioned this to me in an email, but you know, after property owners see sort of like proof of the process, the following year they're more sort of welcoming to the idea. Right. So it's all about, you know, building and baby steps. These are a couple of more sites along Division Street. And then finally,
Amanda.
Yes.
So like for something like number 13, how you guys were mentioning that it won't go past like a story. So for sites like this, we have to assume that it's just going to be half of it.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
What if we were able to find, well, no, because it would have to deal with property insurance, right? Like if we were able to have the resources to like get a lift or scaffolding and stuff like that, it still wouldn't matter because of the property insurance?
Well, there's a couple different factors in play. The deals that we're making with the property owners are that the city is going to do the maintenance on the property or on the mural. So we want to make sure that we're actually able to execute on that. So the city's kind of taking a bigger lift. So that's another one of our hesitancies. So if you just had the insurance for yourself and we were able to broker the deal with the property owner, we're open to it. And you know, you're somebody who's more experienced, so we'd be kind of open to it. But we're trying to make it so that everybody can say yes along to the process.
Sure.
That wall in particular, it's also Division Street's not a super busy street. So if you're going to make the investment of like lifts and that kind of thing, we'd want it to kind of maximize your bang for the buck. And we've got a bunch of other walls that are really iconic big walls that aren't kind of on our list this year. Because we're sort of doing the quieter ones now for more modest things, so that we can kind of have a cohort of artists that will be able to take on our iconic locations later.
Okay. Thank you.
And then these are a few more sites. And I think that's about it. The other ones, let me just double check. These are possibilities. They're off Division Street. And I think that's basically it. Okay, and so if nobody has any questions about potential locations, we will head to the next.
I do want to mention that as part of this phase of the application, you don't need to specify like what wall you're interested in. So well, I guess the next thing is we're going to go through the calls, right?
Yeah.
Maybe we can just go we'll do the mural one first. So basically at this juncture, we're just looking for concept to give us, so we can get the ball moving on the process, you know, your experience and your concept for this. And then by the time we have the sites confirmed, we will, you know, select semifinalists to develop their designs for specific sites, and there's an honorarium for that. So
Yeah. Can everybody see the call that I just brought up?
Yes.
Okay. So this is for the painted murals. We do have a Spanish version if needed. Eligibility, pretty self-explanatory. Application guidelines. Preference will be towards murals that address what people love about our community and or issues relevant to current challenges that our community face. Work that expresses the radical imagination of shifts we want to see in our world is encouraged. Let's see, project timeline. As we've mentioned, there are all of these different sessions. We did have our inspiring example and design basics last week. These are all recorded and put online so you guys can check them out if you've missed one. And we will be adding another session next week on the 16th. And we'll go through a little bit about designing process, as well as history, a little history of murals and sort of like the genre in general. We do still have our open hours. And so if anybody wants to work with Carolyn and I about designs, we're here to help artists of whether you're emerging or a professional. So we're here, and we have open hours on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Saturdays. The deadline to apply is July 24th, that's a Friday, by 5 p.m. And as we had mentioned with the installation, not going above 12 feet, and our plan is to have everything installed between September 1st and October 31st. We're going to get into the honorarium a bit later, but I do want to just re-mention what Carolyn had said earlier about the selection process. So we will be selecting semifinalists around the week of August 10th, and then we'll choose 3 to 4 semifinalists. I'm sorry, we will select 7 semifinalists, and then those people will be creating mock-ups for a specific wall. And from that pool, we'll choose 3 to 4 finalists. And we will give $100 to create the mock-up. Other aspects of the call, everything else is sort of self-explanatory. We ask the same questions in the wheat paste that we do here. And there is an opportunity, we're not looking for a mock-up at this stage, but there is an opportunity to upload work samples. I've limited it to 5, 1 megabyte each. Does anybody have any questions about the painted mural call? Okay, all right, then I will kick it over to you, Carolyn, to run through the wheat paste call.
Okay, so a lot of the same stuff as the murals, but some different things. I mean, wheat paste, we're going to work with digital files. So if you're doing 2D or 3D or photographs or whatever, it's all gonna just be digital. You can photograph your 2D work and email it to us, and we will take care of printing everything and installing. Some wheat paste artists would like the style is to like put it up and then paint over it, or paint onto the image. But because of social distancing, COVID stuff, we won't be able to do, like, we're gonna get the stuff from the printer and just put it up. If folks wanted to paint onto it, you could do that like after the wheat paste dries and it's up. But yeah, anybody's eligible. We're really encouraging emerging artists, people who are not necessarily artists. Anybody with a creative idea is encouraged to set up a meeting with Amanda and I to discuss your ideas. That's, yeah, please don't go down anymore.
Sorry.
That's okay. So yeah, so you can discuss your ideas with us. We'll totally help develop the ideas and offer any technical support. And yeah, same sort of concept, you know, it's work that celebrates and lifts up what we love about community, or expresses, you know, radical imagination about addressing current challenges. This is a really, you know, there's a lot of movement right now, a lot of shifting that's happening. And so Wheat Paste is a really awesome media to just express your immediate stuff, because it's something you can like put up after a few months, it's going to come down, but it's a really nice media to make a point. And you can take creative risks and keep printing more. You know, it's an opportunity to make something you could keep going with it in other locations. So yeah, same timeline, same office hours, same deadline. We're also gonna choose semifinalists. And the semifinalists, we can work closely with you all to develop ideas if that's necessary. And same installation dates, and you know, not extending over one story. So yeah, we'll talk about the honorarium in the slides, because we'll unpack that a little bit. So the selection process is similar, but we're not gonna have that same mock-up thing. We'll just sort of work with artists to develop their concepts if that's needed. So yeah, could you scroll down a little? So selection criteria. Again, you know, this is for any artist, any experience level, or creative people with a good idea. Artists can be a strong word to some folks. So we were specific in calling this a call for creatives, but I keep saying artists, so forgive me. This is for any creative folks that have a really good idea, and we can offer support to make it visually impactful if needed. So yeah, if you could scroll down, you know, this could be for individuals or groups, same as the murals. You don't need a group name, but if you have one, that's great. But we definitely want to know the names of all the artists in the group. We need the mailing address so that we can send you your stipend, you know, all this. You know, I realized that in our other Google form, some people like didn't fill out all the stuff. So you know, I think it's really important to fill out all these things so that we're not having to pester anybody. But everything's asked for a good reason. But yeah, you know, email address will correspond with you. Phone number is really helpful for, you know, texting, reminders and stuff like that. And if you could scroll down, yeah, just basically, yeah, the work samples are if applicable. You don't need it to have a competitive application. If your idea is strong, then you have a good shot. So the experience of making artwork is helpful for us. But really, like, if you don't have a lot of experience making artwork, inspiration is really, really important. And you could just write about that. And then your ties to Chelsea, super important. And the last one is your concept. That is probably the most important question for this. So really, and we're not looking for like a super duper long answer. Like 150, 200 words is good, you know, like a strong paragraph that addresses these questions. Does anybody have questions about the
so can we fill out the form for both? Like if we can do both, like the painting and the wheat paste? Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
For the wheat paste, if we are printing, if we printing an image, a word, like, do we need to be mindful of any copyright, laws or anything like that?
Oh, that's a good one.
That is a very good question, and I would say yes. We don't want any stealing of images. I'm not, I'm sure there's a lot of good resources out there. Off the top of my head, I can't necessarily think of any. But it depends on how much you change the image and how much you like really make it your own. So like, for example, if you take I would say, like, if you take your own photograph, I would say that's better than taking one off the internet. So yeah, we definitely want to stay away from the plagiarism.
Yeah, and just crediting people, if you do find an image that, is from somebody else. I've been surprised, like, when I've reached out to people, be like, can I use your image for this thing? And just like, how would you like to be credited? Just ask them how they'd like to be credited. That often is like, they're excited that their piece is getting, appreciated or whatnot.
I had a question about the wheat paste do the prints have a specific size that I know that you said you guys would be taking charge of that? And then I was curious if it includes color or it's just black and white.
Either, yeah, we can do color or black and white. And we're going to talk about size in the slides because there's like two different sort of aspects to it. So if, we'll just hold that thought. It'll be easier to explain when we get to that slide.
Yeah, but I would say, like, we can work with you to make your file. So if you're like trying to, for example, do a portrait, like what Cedric and Julia did in Arlington, we can piece it together. We can piece the image together if you want to make it 12 feet. So we can work with you to make sure that the file's right. Okay, I am going to head back over to our little PowerPoint if everybody is satisfied with the call. Okay, so just quickly, because the murals is sort of the easiest thing to explain in terms of these estimated sizes. So the stipends will vary from 500, 1,000, and 1,500 for small, medium, and large walls. And we've put these dimensions below. And so what you see below, this is a mural that's actually already in Chelsea, which says "You are loved." This is something I would consider, it might drop into the medium category, but this is probably hitting in the large category. I'm not positive though. And we can, again, if you have any questions and once the walls are solidified, we can work with you to figure out, okay, is this gonna be a small, is this a medium, or a large?
So the wheat paste, so size is you could blow up an image to be huge, but it might not be that complicated. So when we're thinking about the stipends, we really we're approaching it more from like we're calling it spontaneous. Like if you capture an awesome image and want to do a wheat paste of it, you could blow it up to 12 feet and have it be really awesome, but that doesn't reflect the same amount of work as somebody who maybe makes a smaller, physically smaller piece, but has like a complex process that goes into it. So the sizes, the sizes will be, kind of like almost similar to like the range of the mural sizes that were described. But it's really more, the stipends would really be based more on the the complexity of process. And we'll describe what spontaneous, moderately complex, and complex looks like. So so this would be a complex example. What Julia and Cedric did in Arlington as well is complex. And I think we have a picture of one of them next. Yep, that one. And those involved interviews that were captured and text. You can kind of see the text on there in that lower left-hand corner. But yeah, if you go back to the animal one, that reflected an inquiry into the animals that we share an ecosystem with that we don't necessarily see. I mean, we don't have bears in Arlington or in the Boston area, but certainly there's a herring down at the end of the building. But this is
And
like,
they were actually from one of the stories too, because that's on the library. So they were taken from one of the stories from it's from a book from an author who was really important in the community. So that's in there too.
thanks, Julia. That's super helpful. Yeah, so this is a library, the Fox Library. And so the process, reflects a lot of inquiry and conversation and engagement with the site. And then physically, they are large and wrapping around the building as well. And yeah, Julia, would you mind kind of sharing a little bit about your process for the Arlington one? I don't mean to put you on the spot, but you're right here, so I feel weird talking about your art.
Well, it was, we did an interview process with the community and asked them about the local storefronts, and we interviewed them to find out who was really important to them and what were the stories that they had about the businesses. And it was really about supporting local business and engaging community to let the business owners know what they mean to them. And then so we kind of did a voting process where people in the community got to share their stories about those businesses, and then we interviewed them, and then we did wheat paste and shared their story and engaged the whole community in the process, and then did a big opening and everyone came out. And we also made a book about it that is stored in the library. And it was really to have a conversation with the community about how important local business is, and to help preserve them and shine a spotlight on all their hard work.
Thank you. That's
Yeah.
super helpful. So the next ones are examples of a moderately complex example. So really, community process, you can't always see in the complexity of the imagery, but it's so much, it takes a lot of time and energy and thoughtfulness on the part of the artist. So the moderately complex don't necessarily involve a community process, but do involve sort of thoughtful consideration of the site, and doing something that's really gonna interact with the landscape and the architecture. And so there's two examples by Lewenberg from France, and then this other example by Future Laser Now just kind of reflects a lot of detail in the work. It's not necessarily site responsive in the same way, but it reflects a lot of detail in the design.
And Carolyn, you had mentioned that I originally thought that Lewenberg's work was photographs, but you had mentioned that they are actually drawings.
Yeah, they're India ink. Yeah.
That adds another sort of complexity to the process.
Mm-hmm. But if somebody's inspired by his work and can't draw like that, not many of us can. Photographs work. You could totally stage photographs at a site, and use those. Do something, digitally alter them. Get the background out or not. So it's a cool idea.
In Arlington, we kind of did a little bit of both. We did photographs and then used incorporated other things in Photoshop and yeah, usually.
I didn't do, there was one picture of the lady reading where there's some like drawings in there. So here's a couple other moderately complex examples that are, you know, painterly, illustrative, and reflect a like depth of process in the artistry that went into them. These are all examples from the Mile End in Montreal. There's a whole lot. If anybody's likes these and wants more inspiration, if you Google Mile End Montreal, there's like so much amazing wheat paste examples. And then the spontaneous ones, they're more like doodly or repeating an image. You know, the hand one, you know, you could do like a whole ton of hands, you know, doing something cool. You know,
And this might be art that you already have, you know, things that or pieces of work that you already have. So maybe it's a photograph of a painting that have worked on, or maybe it's, you know, a doodle that you're also working on.
Mm-hmm. Or like photographs. I didn't have any examples there, but photographs of things that you're like, oh, I'd love to see this wheat pasted up. Something that that reflects a spontaneous process, and that's, you know, that's something that we'll sort of like figure out in the you know, process of determining scale and you know, your concept and stuff like that. So this is the last slide about the sizes. So wanted to open it up for questions if this doesn't seem totally clear.
Or if anybody has an idea that they are wondering, oh, does this fall into this category or the spontaneous category or the moderately complex category, we can try and work through some of those now, but I'd love to, if anybody has any ideas, I'd love to hear them. Or not. Or not.
We'd still love to hear them, but like, you don't have to. You know what I'm saying? Everybody.
We could do like collages, right? Of like different things, and then we just put them together, and that's what we end up pasting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
And again, if you guys have any questions about how to, you know, combine the files or create a collage, we're here to give technical assistance for Photoshop or Illustrator.
Do you use like a special vinyl for that, or like what's the technical part that you use for those wheat paste for the digital one?
It's just paper. Yeah, it's just images printed on regular paper, and it's adhered to the wall with like it is wheat paste. It's wheat cooked with water, kind of similar to what people use for like hanging wallpaper. And we're gonna mix like a acrylic medium into it and like a UV protectant so that it coats the paper and protects it from the elements a little bit more than plain wheat paste. But it's just paper. It's not a vinyl. Is that what you meant by that question?
Yes, that's a great. Yeah, you answered my question.
Okay.
And then did Wendy have a question? No. Okay.
I was wondering, like, how many images can we like have wheat paste? Like, if I had 1,000 sketches and I wanted to incorporate all of them into the wall, is that something that's possible, or am I only allowed to use a certain amount of images?
Like a collage. Like, I think that kind of blends in with Eduardo's question a little bit about sort of like, well, I mean, would that work for the type of sketches to do some sort of like montage-y sort of collage of sketches?
I mean, that's an idea.
Yeah, or we could help you pick some that might lend themselves to the
Yeah.
site, or
But yeah, I mean, if it works within the concept, I think sure, you know, the more images, the better. But I think it's just making sure that it's aesthetically cohesive, you know, and I think potentially collaging the images might work than just having like one standalone one after another. I'm making hand gestures. I don't even know if you guys can see that.
Yeah.
So for the concept, I have a question. For the concept, we can throw like how many concepts should we submit? Like for example, the spontaneous, we can have like more than one concept.
Yeah,
or-
I don't know if there's a text limit in the box, but I would say, yeah, as many concepts as you want. I would suggest probably not going beyond like 5.
Okay.
That might be a little, you know, that gives us a lot to choose from.
Okay. Perfect.
yeah, and I would suggest setting up a meeting with us to like talk through your concepts, and we can sort of help you like focus a little bit more, or you know, ask you questions to sort of help you gain clarity on you know, how successful you'll be able to be like to execute them based on the resources available. So yeah, we'd totally love to chat with you about your ideas and
We would have to have a meeting before the 24th, right?
yeah, we're available starting, you know, our office hours are
Tuesday and
government. Yeah,
Yeah, and if for some reason the office hours aren't working for you, you could just send us an email.
Yep.
You know, we can set up a Zoom call. You know, we're trying to stay away from in-person meetings, but sometimes they're necessary. And I would say as long as everybody's, you know, social distancing and wearing a mask and doesn't have a fever, that's definitely something we can talk about.
All right.
Cool. Hey, thank you guys for sharing this and for inviting me to be part of it. Your project sounds awesome, and I have to go now, but I can't wait to see everything that happens and be in touch.
Thanks, Julia. I'm so glad you're on the call and we're able to like fill in a bunch of really good blanks for us.
Thanks for letting me know about it. I'm really happy to hear about everything that's happening there, and you guys are doing awesome. So, yay.
Yay,
Awesome.
thanks.
We'll see you later. Bye,
Bye.
everyone. Nice to meet you. Bye.
All right, so one other thing that we're gonna do is a community mural for folks that kind of feel like this is, you know, for doing a whole mural concept is like too much. We are collecting images of birds for a community mural. So here's a couple, you know, bird wheat pastes that I came across in my ganders. And I actually have, here, I'll show you, they're right here. I have a whole bunch of hummingbirds that are ready to go. We're gonna do a little test and put these up on the wall. So we're looking to include as many people as possible in this community mural who just, I mean, it could be like a super sketchy sketch of a bird, like a stick figure. It could be a photograph. It could be like a funny doodle of this skateboarding bird smoking and eating pizza. And yeah, photographs or whatever. So we wanted to do something that would be inclusive and easy to participate in. So that's so yeah, we're collecting bird imagery made by Chelsea residents along the way, and putting those up on a wall to be determined. And also reflections. So we're working on a prompt. What do you learn, or what have you learned from watching the birds? We're still figuring out like the specific language, so people could write and share a reflection to that question as well. That will be incorporated into this wheat paste.
And we'll send in, and if you do want to contribute to the bird mural,
You can make a bird too. Anybody, you can make a bird and propose something.
and we'll send out information about how to do that in a future email, and we'll also be getting it out there on social media.
Yeah, we'll have a flyer soon.
And I think, these are just places to visit. We mentioned them in the last workshop. If you're looking to get inspired, these are all in Massachusetts. They're outside. You can social distance.
You take public transportation to most of them. Well, I guess you could take the commuter rail to Worcester, but that's really far.
And just a reminder, our open hours. And you can email myself or Carolyn if you need anything. And finally, are there any other questions about the calls? Just July 24th is the deadline.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Yeah, quick question. So if we're submitting for the painted mural, and I think you guys kind of said it when you were looking at the sites, but it's kind of, selection is based more so on the artist and the mock-up, and site would be determined after that, or is somewhere within that semi-finalist selection, are we also going to be proposing for a specific sites? Like by that time, would you guys have the approved sites?
Yes. So we're, so August 10th, so you'll submit the call. There'll be work samples within that. Put work samples up. No mock-up for July 24th. We'll then we'll select our semifinalists. We'll select 7. And from those 7, we'll pare it down to 3 or 4. Those 7 we'll say, hey, here's a wall. Give us a mock-up for that wall. And then we'll do, I think we mentioned $100 for those 7 people to do a mock-up.
And that would probably just be one mock-up, or would it be like we would, if we wanted to, send like 2 or 3 designs included in that mock-up, so it would be given choice?
We have not, in honesty, we have not talked too much about that yet. Mimi, I don't know if you have any specific requests. You're muted.
My assumption was in some ways like by the time folks get to the finalist or the semifinalist stage, that we have a sense of like what that concept might be. And that folks might have already kind of scoped out, been a little bit of a matchmaking around the location. I think part of our hope wasn't to make people do too much work between the semifinalists and the finalist stage, to have to do multiple mock-ups. We're kind of hoping around then to be able to, at that stage, be able to like have a conversation more with the property owners then to make sure it's something that they're amenable to, that the city manager can, that there's other folks that need to be, that are part of the decision-making process.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay. I think Carolyn may have had to run, but thank you guys all for joining us. Again, office hours, Saturdays, Tuesdays, and Mondays. And feel free to email us. And I never know how to sign off with these things. But thank you guys all for joining in, and hopefully we will see you soon.
Thank you.
Guys.
Thank
Thanks
you.
a lot, guys.
Thank you.